in FIFA World Cup. For more on that story, we have in studio our SABC Sports News Deputy Editor, Janet Whitton. Welcome back to News Today.
Thank you.
Now, so much scandals have come out of FIFA, and now the latest development is that FIFA says it wants tens of millions of dollars in damages from all the officials that have been implicated in corruption scandals. What does that mean for South Africa, though?
Not a lot in reality, because what has come out today is that FIFA's lawyers have filed a victim statement with the United States Supreme Court in New York. And that's where the US Justice Department laid all the charges against the 41 individuals and companies over the last sort of 8 months since the scandal actually broke. In all along, FIFA has been regarded as a victim, and it's very important that it stays that way for the US Justice Department, because if FIFA is not a victim, and if it becomes a perpetrator of this of these crimes that they're alleged, then probably the cases against the individuals will collapse, because they will fall then into FIFA as an organization. So the US Justice Department wants FIFA to continue being a victim. FIFA, in its PR game over the past 8 months, in trying to recover from the scandal and trying to keep itself as untainted as it possibly can, has also played that game, and they're playing that game now. And this is part of that process. They're not expecting to get any of this money back anytime soon, but it's all part of the public relations game. And at the end of the statement, they actually say that they don't stipulate exactly. There's certain money that they stipulate, the salaries of some of the individuals that they're claiming back, and then they specifically refer to the theft of $10 million. But it's by defendants Jack Warner, Chuck Blazer, and another person who is not named. So South Africa is not named as a defendant in this. The defendants here are the original people that were charged. So in a sense, they're not asking for anything from South Africa, but obviously it will be a big indictment if this is found, if this holds up in court, and if Jack Warner has to pay that $10 million back specifically, it's going to come back to South Africa at some point.
And then looking at the former SAFA CEO scandal, Leslie Sidibe being fingered, and he coming out to the media to say his hands are clean, he was not involved in any match fixing or World Cup fixing for that matter. Is the South African justice system going to get involved, and should they get involved and handle it in a manner that the US justice system is handling all the affairs at FIFA, or is that different?
I think it is slightly different to some extent, because the charges that were laid against Sidibe and also against Steve Goddard and Adil Carlson have a lot to do with non-disclosure, which is not in itself a crime, you know, as far as the South African justice system is concerned. But it is a problem that FIFA have. That story is not gone away yet, though, because Sidibe himself, as well as Steve Goddard, were very upfront yesterday saying, we disclosed this stuff, and there were other people who told us to keep quiet and didn't pass the information on. And Steve Goddard yesterday specifically said, I gave that information to FIFA, and FIFA didn't do anything about it. So I think there's more to come on that story, because they're very much taking the line that they are being the victims, when in actual fact they were the whistleblowers.
And is it fair to sort of look at the three in isolation? Because we see the CEO, for a former CEO of an organization, getting fingered, yet the president of an organization not seeming to get tainted by any of these corruption scandals. Some people may argue that, well, as the president, how could you not have any knowledge?
I think it's and there the comparisons to FIFA can actually be made. I don't think there's anybody anywhere who believes that Sepp Blatter didn't know some of what was going on inside FIFA. He'd have to be crazy and an idiot not to know that. And I think the same situation is here. If the top brass at SAFA didn't know, and remember the top brass at SAFA then are quite similar to the top brass at SAFA now. There are a lot of overlap. A lot of those people are still around, and if they didn't know what was going on, at the very least they should have.
And then moving on to the PSL, allegations of match fixing. Some players have been fingered and playing a role in fixing matches in the PSL. Janet, what does this mean for the credibility of South African football?
You know, South Africa hasn't been bad in looking at match fixing and taking action against it. There have been a few incidents over the past decade or so where action has been taken, and SAFA has been at the forefront of that. And I think that is something that they will look at very carefully. And I think in this situation, I expect an investigation, some kind of broad, sort of judicial inquiry type thing to happen quite quickly. I think that will happen because SAFA does actually have a reasonably good record on that score.
And lastly, just in terms of FIFA, how badly is their image tainted, and could they ever get this corruption scandal, could they ever be free of it?
You know, a lot of people think they won't, simply because they've undertaken this whole series of reforms now in the last couple of weeks since Gianni Infantino has been elected president. But there is a stream of thought that says it's not nearly enough. And even with these reforms in place, and remember, they're not in place yet, they can only come into force after their next Congress in May. Even with them in force, though, FIFA is still open to that kind of corruption, and it is so pervasive and it's so all-encompassing that there are still people within FIFA who have been doing it all along and are not going to stop. So I think it's going to be very difficult for FIFA. This PR exercise, I'm not sure is one they're going to win anytime soon.
Deputy Editor of SABC Sports News right here on News Today, Janet Whitton. Thank you very much for her time and her great insight as always, looking into all the corruption scandals and what they really mean for football at large as far as FIFA is concerned, and all the corruption allegations coming out of the PSL. It is a developing story and we'll certainly be keeping our eye on that.